Hello, my name is Kat McGregor. On behalf of the Farm Advisory Service, we're here today to speak to Cara Young, who owns and manages Puffin Croft and John O'Groats in the far north of Scotland. As part of the What's Stopping You project, we're particularly interested to hear the impact that social media has on Cara's business. Cara, thanks for speaking to us today. I believe you're from the northwest of England. You're a professional nanny all over the world. So what brought you here to the far north of Scotland?
Well, thank you for having me. About 5-6 years ago now, my mum passed away, and that was a turning point in my life that made me realise life is short, it's time to pursue my dreams. And one of the things I'd always wanted was donkeys and a small holding and just to kind of have that rural life. So I decided that now was the time that I was going to use what had happened with losing my mum and the sadness and turn it into something more positive. Scotland, John O'Groats wasn't the location that I actually was thinking to come to. It just that this is the farm that became available, and it all happened very fast.
And you had no agricultural experience whatsoever?
No, as you said, I was a nanny. I mean, whilst I'd take the children always to petting farms and zoos whenever I could, my animal experience was a cat, and that's all I had, and that's all I knew about. So I literally came up knowing nothing.
Knowing absolutely nothing. You weren't daunted by that? You didn't have any fear of any sort?
There's a lot to be said for naivety, I think. So I think certainly the first 6 months of my life here, I hardly remember. It was a bit of a blur, and I always say I was walking this line between feeling overjoyed and overwhelmed.
Right.
And it's been a huge learning curve. Mm-hmm. I would have to say though, thankfully this community up here is really supportive, and I met a lot of people who know a lot more than I do about animals, and they really helped me and gave me a lot of advice. Yeah. And all the stuff you can learn online these days, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So when you moved here, the animals were already here?
Most of them, a variety of animals were here. It was already established as a petting farm.
Okay.
So I took it over as a business already going.
Yeah, excellent. You're on several social media sites and platforms. Can you tell us a little bit about what you use social media for and what sites you actually use?
Yes, I'm on, the main one is Facebook. Mm-hmm. I think this rural community up here uses Facebook generally anyway, quite prolifically. So that's my main one. And then I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. I had no experience. When I took over the farm, it did have the Facebook page. I then later set up Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. And it's just an amazing way to connect what I'm doing here, this tiny little farm in the really far rural north of Scotland, with the rest of the country, and even in the rest of the world. I mean, I have people in New Zealand, Denmark, France, all over the world who look at my page and follow what I'm doing
and comment on
what I'm doing. Yes, yeah. It's quite amazing how you can be so small, but it connects you with such a wider audience.
Yeah. Of course. So prior to coming to Puffin Croft, what was your experience of using social media?
Well, I had my own personal Facebook page, but that was really it. As a nanny, obviously, you have to err more on the side of privacy, so you're not sharing all that's going on in that kind of world. So it was new to me, and it takes a fair amount of time. People want to engage with you, and obviously there's a lot of messages that are coming in, as well as comments on the page, and I always try to make sure that I acknowledge every comment, just so that people want to feel involved. And with this year that we've had with COVID, I don't know that I would have survived without the support of the social media community that I've got. I think living in a rural environment, there's the local people who want to support you, but it's actually to survive, you rely on the greater community. And and now I have followers all over the world who are invested, and they love the animals, they care about the animals, and they want to help. And that has been great. Yeah, it's really saved the farm, really.
Of course, yeah, which is fantastic. How do you then balance your own well-being and what all you do on social media?
It's really a challenge. It's really a challenge because I think we all walk around with our phones with us all the time, and so I do try to make sure that when the farm is closed, I try to stop, you know, that I might read a message or I won't maybe answer till the following morning. I do end up, you know, I will answer messages while I'm having my breakfast and while I'm having my lunch. You know, it's one of those things that you can do quickly while you're doing other stuff. But sometimes it can be quite overwhelming, because if I'm outside for quite a long part of the day with the animals and doing stuff, you can go in and there'll be this huge mountain of social media that you've got to then
that you feel compelled to respond to.
Yes, we live in a world now where people want instant replies. People have a certain amount of patience, but it does take a long time, and so I do have to try and create the balance. But anyway, with this kind of life, I've learnt to make sure that I take time for myself. Good. You never get a day off.
Yes, that's
but
right.
Just to take moments. So that typically is in the evening. I just right now it's just me.
And have your own time.
And you know, the world will wait. And
of course.
I might be asleep in bed anyway by 8:30 onwards. So you know, they just have to wait till the morning. So I do try to do that. Yeah.
That's good. That's really important that you look after your own well-being.
Yes.
For sure. Have you had to deal with any conflict or any negative comments on any of your social media?
There's always a little bit. I would say 98% has been hugely positive. People care, people support. I think if you are following my page, it's because you genuinely care about me or the animals or what's happening. But there are always those people, when you're dealing with animals, it's always a high emotion topic, the welfare of animals. Everyone has strong opinions about that. So occasionally there will be, most people, they will ask a question, possibly not in the nicest way, but once I diplomatically reply then they are like, oh, okay, yeah, we understand. So it hasn't been too bad, but it is something always I've noticed that, you know, you'll read a comment and it might make you a little bit annoyed when you first read it, but I've learnt myself, don't answer straight away. Just take a minute, think, because they don't know you, they don't know the situation, and so then I reply later, maybe the next day, calmly, and that always helps. Always helps, because there's no point.
No knee-jerk reaction to anything negative.
It never works. It never works to do that. It's never helpful. So I always try to you know, just to reply a little bit later when I've had time to really think through a way that I can answer that will help them understand. Because mostly it's just that they don't understand.
Yes. So yeah. And then the positive impacts, what would you feel the positive impacts of your social media has brought to your business?
Really huge. I mean, you expand your area of support from the small community that you're living in. And it can have a global reach, really, so there's no end to how far it can reach.
So what advice would you, Cara, then give to any other rural business might be contemplating or thinking about using social media as a way of getting their business out there?
I think it's just, it can only create better opportunities for you. I personally always try to create a vibe for my Facebook page predominantly, and that's one where for the most part I'm like focusing on the joy that animals can bring. So I think if you're trying to create an environment through social media of something positive that people want to engage with. So people wake up, you know, and they're living, say, in London, and they're having their cereal and they see a cute picture of a goat or a rabbit. It just brightens their morning, and then it keeps you in the forefront of their mind. I would also say I post almost every single day, because then it keeps you also in their thoughts, so that if you then do have the more negative side where you need to do a shout out, then they're like, oh yeah, we've been following her, we've seen what she's been doing, and we know all of these animals that she's talking about all the time. So I definitely recommend, you do have to invest time, but it really can be such a huge help and a really positive experience.
What opportunities would you say that social media has brought to Puff & Croft?
I think when I first moved here, I had my original idea of what my life was going to be like, but I quickly realised that I needed to diversify if I was going to survive financially. You know, the animals, the money I make from the petting farm feeds the animals, but you know, that's all it really does. So I think social media gives you a platform that's free. You know, you don't have to pay any fees or anything, so it gives you this platform where you can just do other things and think creatively and sell stuff online that you wouldn't do if you were just in your farm in the middle of nowhere. So it does create huge opportunities for growth, I think, in your business.
And it has done that for you?
Yes, absolutely. And especially this year being locked down, no one's been able to visit the farm. I went, probably 90% of my world went online, even though my world is very physical. I became, to survive, to generate income, to generate a revenue, I had to go online and sell stuff and make
look
things.
At other opportunities.
So it was the only way that I was going to survive this year. So it was a lifesaver.
Well, that's great. Cara, thank you so much for sharing your experience as well as today. I do hope that it might give people the confidence and the boost in other rural businesses to use social media as a platform for themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. After hearing from Cara today, the good certainly outweighs the bad. Using social media has been key to the success of her business. Could it do the same for you?